points are gained or points are lost, there will be much to discuss. For analysis regarding tonight's Winnipeg Jets game, here are Dave Manouk, Ezra Ginsburg, and your host, Drew Mandel. The Illegal Curve post-game show starts now.
Good evening, Winnipeg. Good evening, Manitoba. For all those joining us live this evening on our YouTube channel and all of our social media platforms, we say good evening, universe, and welcome to the Illegal Curve post-game show with Dave Manouk. With Ezra Ginsburg, I am your host, Drew Mandel. We're joined together this evening to talk about the Winnipeg Jets' 4-1 victory over the San Jose Sharks, the Jets' first victory of the season against the Sharks in their third game in 13 against these two teams. The Jets improved to 7-3-3 on the season and end their two-game losing streak with tonight's victory. Gentlemen, good to see you both. Dave, I'm impressed you were able to get from the rink back home quickly, or quick enough to join us for the post-game, given the lousy driving conditions and the winter storm we're experiencing. Settle in, everyone. You really don't have to go out tonight. Not a good night to be out on the road if you can help it. And join us for the Illegal Curve post-game show. Good to see you both.
What's up, boys? I don't think I'm going to be going out at all after this this little snowstorm. I might just stay in my own house until April. I might hibernate, Drew, and that means that the big beard is going to come back. But yeah, good on Dave M for getting back from Canada Life Center in I think it was only in about 10 to 15 minutes, Dave, because I came over only a couple of minutes into the third period. But yeah, nice to have this game to watch, guys, because it takes our mind off of the fact that we're going to have to basically be shoveling for the next 2 or 3 days. But yeah, pretty impressive effort by the Jets. Like, give the Sharks credit, guys. Like you mentioned it, Drew, the Sharks already, have 2 wins over the Jets. I don't think, many people thought that, and they stuck around, right? Like, Rudolph Spalsers, he gets sprung by Brent Burns on just a beautiful, 100-foot pass, and he hits the post, right? He beat Connor Hellebuck, but obviously he didn't beat the post. So, the Sharks could have easily gone up 2-1 there. And I really thought, the Jets didn't let that phase them at all. And, it's nice to see Jansen Harkins get on the scoreboard. We saw, the lines mixed up by Paul Maurice. You saw the Schwielers line together. So, the Jets, to me, this game was, guys, just a more skilled team, a highly skilled team, a veteran team beating a team with not as much skill. And yeah, there's guys out of the lineup, right? Like Timo Meier, he's one of the best forwards on the Sharks. Obviously, no Erik Karlsson, no Mark-Edward Vlasic. Give James Reimer a lot of credit. He came into this game with a .946 save percentage, by the way, and he's already stoned the Jets a couple of times this year. So Reimer kept them in it, but this is just a better team. When you look at that Sharks lineup, it's not anywhere close to as talented as the Jets. The only regular not in the lineup is obviously Stastny. So, for the most part, the Jets controlled this game. The first period wasn't great. Bad giveaway. We'll probably get into the, that first goal by Andrew Cogliano, who amazingly has both goals against the Jets this year, but maybe not, that surprising because they've played each other 3 times. But that was kind of what I was, noticing in this game. The Jets really, when they wanted to, they just, really showed that they were the more confident and more skilled group. And even though the Sharks have some skill and some speed in their lineup, they can't really hang with the Jets if the Jets are playing close to their best game.
Well, Dave, you can let Ezzy take a deep breath there after that impressive rundown of tonight's contest and give some opening thoughts as to what you saw from high above the ice surface at, what's it called? Canada Life Center. I believe that's the name of the rink now.
It is. Couple things, I don't know if people saw it on the broadcast. They did a Remembrance Day tribute before the game began. And, obviously they showed Crappie, which everybody loves. And I think they showed that probably on the TV broadcast. But one of the things I thought was kind of neat and I think is worth mentioning is that Connor Hellebuck usually faces his nets turned to face the 4-5 veterans who were on the ice, some of the World War II veterans, one of them who was 96 years old. Thought that was kind of a cool touch by Connor Hellebuck to show them the respect by turning and facing them during the anthem. So that was kind of neat. Just thought I'd mention that because I don't think a lot of people would have seen that if you weren't in the building, you weren't kind of paying attention. It happened right underneath where we sit in the press box. So that was something I thought pregame was noteworthy and worth mentioning. And
if anybody wants to see that photo, it is available on our Instagram, just at Illegal Curve on our Instagram, and you can see the photo that Dave's talking about.
Yeah, not my best work. Unfortunately, we didn't have our photographer at the game, so It was me as the photog as well as the media.
You still get the credit, Dave M. That's all that matters.
Yeah. Well, the credit goes to Illegal Curve, whoever that is. So, anyways, I thought that was kind of neat. Yeah, Mr. Curve. It is a whiteout here, I guess. Well, I'm honoring what's happening outside. So that's why I'm wearing the white and the toque and keeping it warm with the fire. But yeah, I mean, the one thing that's key is that opening goal that ties the game for the Winnipeg Jets, or by the opening goal for Winnipeg, just a real nice play. Dubois, Svechnikov, Connor, and just the way those guys are working, just nice one-touch passes. Pierre-Luc Dubois is just in beast mode. I mean, like 13 points in 13 games, 8 goals, 5 assists, and he's just. It's funny. I said in a tweet earlier in the day in the game. It's not about the points he's putting up. Like, points are important, and it's good to do that. It's the things he's doing in the game that just continue to just show that last year was an aberration, and he is back to what we expected him to be when the Jets acquired him from Columbus. So to me, the power moves he's playing, and he's doing it in all sorts of different ways. So it's not just, he's going to the outside and using a power move to get around the defender. He's going through guys. He's making just different sorts of moves that just reinforce that he is a completely different player. And now we've had 13 games. I mean, it's not, early in the season, you can say, well, the sample size is smaller, but it's growing for Pierre-Luc Dubois and that line of Connor and Svechnikov. And I jokingly said on Twitter today, I said, it's essentially locked in now. And Paul Maurice is tweaking. He's putting, like, as he said earlier, Nikolai Ehlers with Mark Scheifele and Blake Wheeler. And I like Lowry back with Kopp and Harkins. I think that line's actually a really smart working line. So that's not necessarily the end of the world for those guys. And the fourth line really worked today. And I saw some of the comments about that. So there's a lot of positives to me for what you saw in this Jets game, because I thought that was the best game. And again, obviously there's been a lot of 11-7, but that you've seen from Riley Nash, Christian Vesalainen, and
Dominic
Toninato. And so I noticed one or more. Actually, I thought Toninato had a nice game, especially his WWE style wrestling in the Sharks crease. That was interesting. But yeah, no, I mean, I still, we've been seeing the praises of Pierre-Luc Dubois and Kyle Connor all season long. And if they keep playing like this, it's going to be a recurring theme. It's just going to be a post game that something we do post game every game is, Pierre-Luc Dubois, Kyle Connor, and those are your drivers. And if those two guys continue to do what they're doing, this Jets team is going to be on their back and it's going to go far.
Yeah, I mean, it's they really were the drivers. I mean, let's get into the game. The game starts with the Sharks opening the scoring at the 6:28 mark. Andrew Cogliano gets his second of the year, second against the Jets, as he mentioned. Brent Burns gets the assist on it, and it's a bad giveaway. I mean,
Brendan Dillon also got an assist on that.
Yeah, Brendan Dillon got the secondary assist on that one. Exactly right. It's a bad giveaway by Brendan Dillon. And, veterans like Burns and Cogliano know what to do when they're the recipients of bad giveaways. And they made no mistake of it. As soon as that pass went up the middle by Brendan Dillon, before you know it, it was behind Connor Hellebuyck, and the San Jose Sharks get off to the good lead, the good start to the game that they needed tonight against the Jets. This is the Sharks, I believe, second game of a 5-game road trip. We've talked about it, how they are COVID depleted. Again, they don't have their head coach behind the bench. They don't have Erik Karlsson. They don't have Timo Meier. This is a depleted team, and when you play a depleted team, they need to get off to a good start to feel good about themselves, and the Sharks did. To the Jets' credit, they get the goal back about 5 minutes and 10 seconds later, and it is that Kyle Connor goal. It's his 10th of the year with the assist to Dubois and Svechnikov, and it's just that line and the chemistry that we've seen from that line doing some very nice work at this point in time. It's a shot from Svechnikov. Dubois, taps it over to Connor, and boom, it's in the back of the net. And I mean, that's not traditionally where you see Kyle Connor scoring from, basically standing in the goal crease. That's not usually his MO, but when things are going well for a line, one, the puck finds you in good spots, and two, you go and you're probably more aggressive and you go to those areas that you might not traditionally be set up in, and as a result, Kyle Connor gets rewarded with his 10th of the year, Ezzy.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Like, when Jim Toth was on the Saturday morning show a couple of weeks ago, and, he was talking about how he believes Connor can score 50 goals. I think some people were kind of shaking their head and saying, okay, 50, like maybe 40. But, look, guys, how many games have the Jets played now? 12, 13, and Connor's got 10 goals. So obviously, the pace isn't going to keep up. Like, nobody thinks he's going to score 75 goals. But if you've been watching the Jets this year or, the last 3 or 4 years, I mean, it's almost kind of a guarantee that he's going to score, 30 to 35. So if he's already guaranteed at that, 40 is probably well within, his grasp. So why is 50 so ridiculous? But yeah, I agree with Dave. Like, I think what has been, standing out about Dubois, Connor, Svechnikov is this line can score in a bunch of different ways. Like, Dubois is a power forward. Let's not, kid ourselves here. But, this guy has great hands. And, I liked how Connor started the play, in the Jets, close to the Jet zone, if I remember correctly. And I liked how, Dubois passes the puck to Svechnikov, then goes to the net. And then, as Dave mentioned, just touches them with a nice little tip. And then Reimer gives up a little rebound and Connor follows it up. So, I mean, yeah, that isn't the prettiest goal, but it just shows you how confident this line is right now. And, how much speed they have and how much chemistry they have. Like, Svechnikov had a chance, I think it was in the first period, if I'm not mistaken, kind of like a point blank chance. He obviously didn't score on it, but, I think Svechnikov, it's the little kind of subtle things in his game. I like that one, the Slim Shady one.
That was good, but I also like Matthew. I got to give Matthew Thompson a good one. That was pretty funny.
Yeah.
Can we agree?
Sure.
He wrote, just for the people who are listening to the podcast, can we agree that after tonight, that 7-Eleven should remain a store only?
Well, and you boys know why I specifically agree with that one, because I've got a 7-Eleven about halfway down the block in my house here in River Heights. But even though
also when you walk in there, it's basically like Norm from Cheers. The staff just go, Ezzy.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because, I'm there at least, I would say 3 or 4 days a week. I have to pick up 2% milk, by the way. Naomi said that to me right before I left the house. So remind me that I have to pick up 2% milk for Ruben. But
so everybody in the chat, before we end the show tonight, be sure to remind Ezzy to pick up 2% milk, because if he goes home and he does not have 2% milk with him for his family tomorrow, Ezzy is going to be looking for a place to stay. So please, everybody, remind Ezzy to...
Well, the good thing is, Drew, that I already have a sleeping bag and a change of clothes here and a toothbrush. IC branded toothbrush, by the way. But no, they seem to not really recognize me, but I think the mask has something to do with that. But getting back to Dubois,
you should probably stop wearing a balaclava when you go in there. They really do get a little put off by that.
It's cold out, Drew. I need it. But Dubois, Connor, Svechnikov, I think it's a cliche. Like, we hear this all the time. Everybody hates hearing it, but they're consistent. Like, they haven't had, how many bad games has that line had since they've been formed? Like, they rarely have bad games. And I was watching Svechnikov a little bit more, closely, maybe than I have in the past. And like, we know the skill, like he was a 1st-round pick, everything like that. He obviously hasn't had the success in the NHL. Dave mentioned, like, he's going to surpass his career point totals with Detroit easily. Right, Dave?
Yeah.
It's kind of a perfect complement to Connor and Dubois. Like, there could be other players on that line, but one guy I want to bring up here, I know you want to get into some of the other goals.
Go ahead.
But I thought Jansen Harkin's goal aside, I mean, it was a nice goal, beauty pass from Lowry, a couple of sons of former NHLers there. But I just think that he fits in really nicely with Lowry and Kopp. So I know you want to get into some other goals here, Drew, but I just thought I would mention that I thought that was maybe Harkin's best game of the year.
Yeah, well, he certainly got the goal, and that was a beautiful goal by, set up by Adam Lowry. I mean, Adam Lowry hit the line there. Well, let's talk about the Nate Schmidt goal first, because that proved to be the game-winning goal in tonight's game. So the first period ends. It's 1-1 after 20 minutes. Shots are even, 10-all. It was a very even first period. I thought from the eye test, it was an even first period. From the analytics, the Corsi 4 was an even first period. The Jets had a slight edge in possession, 51.3% to 48.7%. So basically even first period. And that's why, I thought, the second period is when you really saw the Jets really taking over the game. And that's when the ice began to tilt in that second period. How many opportunities did Blake Wheeler have early in that second period? I mean, he had the breakaway and a 2-on-1, or was it 2 breakaways?
Yeah. And by the way, he had 2-on-1 and a breakaway. And for the record, that breakaway was Pierre-Luc Dubois. I mean, what a play by Pierre-Luc Dubois at the blue line, right? Mm-hmm. Powers, he muscles his man off the puck, basically throws him down, looks over, sees Wheeler all alone, and feeds Wheeler the puck. So I'm just saying, like, that's one of those things that, points aside, Pierre-Luc Dubois is just doing well and elevating his game in so many different facets.
Yeah, well said, Dave. And I mean, and again, the sort of the snake bit way that both Wheeler and Scheifele are continued in this game, because usually Blake Wheeler gets that many opportunities, he's going to pocket one, and he didn't tonight in the 2-on-1. He wasn't able to capitalize either, and it's going to come for both of them. I mean, honestly, I expected one of them to get an empty net goal, because that would have been very fitting, especially if it was Wheeler to get an empty net goal, because we know all the slings and arrows that get shot his way for getting a lot of empty net points, but was not meant to be on the empty net side of things. That went to Dubois as the fourth goal for the Jets in tonight's game. But before we get to there, it was Nate Schmidt. He gets the game-winning goal for the Jets. It's his first of the year, his first as a member of the Winnipeg Jets. Not that he hasn't been contributing in many other ways, of course. And it's a nice play off of the faceoff. It's a set play off the faceoff. Scheifele wins the draw. Wheeler taps back to Morrissey. Morrissey over to Schmidt for the one-timer. Does James Reimer probably want to have it back? Yeah, because you don't really want a goal to go in from where Schmidt was. He was way at the actual tippity top of the blue line. He hammered it pretty well, and it traveled through some players. So I'm sure that Reimer was distracted a little bit, but probably wants it back. Ends up being the game-winning goal, but the Jets do get rewarded, I thought, because that goal came at the just before the 6-minute mark of the second period, and the Jets, for the bulk of that second period, had controlled the play, so that I think they got rewarded for their good play. And Schmidt gets that goal, and it's obviously a huge goal for the Winnipeg Jets, a huge goal in the for the game as well, given that it's the game-winning goal for the Jets tonight.
Yeah, I agree with you, Drew. I mean, there was definite traffic in front of Reimer, and he probably, would tell you that he probably wanted to fight through it a little bit. But, Schmidt's got a hard shot, and he's not a guy that, the Jets are expecting to, lead the defense in goals. He obviously, can contribute some goals, but, I think it was just kind of a matter of time, similar to Wheeler and Scheifele, right? Like, Schmidt's been getting the time on the power play. And, I think you're right. He was rewarded. The Jets were rewarded. And, to your point, the first was even. In the second, the Sharks were making a push. And I thought kind of maybe a little bit of a turning point, or, a momentum turn in the game, was when the Jets had the power play. And I think they only had one shot. That was when Logan Couture took the delay of game penalty. There weren't a lot of penalties. Dave and I were talking about it right before we.
The Sharks didn't have a power play in tonight's game.
No, and that's rare. I always say that, like, regardless of what team you are in any league, you usually get on average a couple of power plays, right? So I thought that the Jets, that started the momentum turning in their direction, even though they didn't get a lot of shots on net. I thought that there was good movement on the power play. And you're right. I mean, for Scheifele, who we talked about, he's looking for his first goal of the year, and he struggled in the faceoff circle, right? Like, we talked about that, guys. Like, that was probably the reason why the Jets, weren't able to get that extra point in overtime. They couldn't win a faceoff. Like, Dubois won the initial faceoff. We talked about that, but after that, the Blues controlled the puck in overtime and had all the shots and all the chances, right? So yeah, it's a set play. It's one of those kind of meat and potatoes goals, right? Like, it's a pretty simple: win the faceoff to the defenseman, pass it to the other defenseman, hammer time, shot on net, traffic, and it goes in, right? So it kind of goes back to what I was saying before, right? Like, the Jets, for the most part, controlled the play. The Sharks had, their moments. We talked about, Rudolph Balcers hit the post. And who was it before? There was also an odd man rush right after that. I made a little note here, Drew, because I know you want me to be prepared. It was Nick Bonino had a shot shortly after.
That was the one where rush. I believe that was the one where Wheeler was the lone man back. If I'm not mistaken, that was the one
you're
where,
right.
And Wheeler did a pretty good job, I thought, of preventing the pass over, and he didn't completely break up the odd man rush opportunity, but he certainly made it more difficult for the Sharks, and as a result, they weren't able to capitalize on it. No. But it's rare that you have I think it was even a 3-on-1. It wasn't even just a 2-on-1, if I recall.
It was a 3-on-1. Yeah.
And for Wheeler to be the lone player back there. And he did a very admirable job, I thought. So again, that's a way that he's contributing. Not that we need to be apologists for Blake Wheeler, but he is contributing, in other ways besides just aside from the score sheet.
Yeah, and Blake Wheeler had the 2-on-1 chance right after that, right? And that's why I kind of made a note of that, because there was a rebound too, and I thought Hellebuck did a really good job of controlling the rebound. So the Sharks had a couple chances to take a lead in this game, and the way Reimer's playing, like again, I'm not comparing Hellebuck and Reimer. Hellebuck's at the very least a top 2 goalie in the NHL, probably the best goalie in the NHL. So I'm not saying Hellebuck is better than Reimer, but he comes in with a .946 save percentage, having played 6 games. So, let's give, a good Manitoba boy a lot of credit here. Like and Aiden Hill had a great game last game against Calgary. What did he have? 37
San Jose
saves?
Sharks
So give them some credit here for making, the Sharks, Drew, sorry, I was just going to say, the Sharks have earned a lot of respect here. They're not most likely going to make the playoffs, but give them credit here that with all the COVID, protocol players here, like, and you mentioned, like, they don't even have their coach right now. So, I mean, give them credit.
Well.
They're playing
played
pretty
a hard
well.
game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you get full marks, and that's why the Jets, I mean, you looked at this game, you looked at the games against the Sharks early in the schedule, and you thought the Sharks were going to be pushovers, and they've certainly been playing hard. So the Jets knew that they were in for a battle tonight, Dave, and they obviously succeeded, ultimately getting the 4-1 win. But San Jose, to Ezzy's point, deserves credit for being a difficult team to play against, and for bringing out the best in the Winnipeg Jets, I would say.
Well, I won't. We always got to give credit to a Manitoba boy, and Morwena, Manitoba's James Reimer. I mean, I've driven through Morwena. It's very small, just north of Arborg, but very small community. No sign though that says home of James Reimer. I'm a little surprised by that, actually.
I knew Kelvin High School that was named Morwena.
Okay,
it's a female name, a first name.
Thank you, Ezzy.
It's especially weird because there's a sign in River Heights that says "Home of Dave Manouk." So I mean,
which is really weird because I hate living in River Heights. I mean, I'm from the North End as far as I'm concerned. Yeah. So
get this guy back to Garden City, right?
Yeah. Well, SK really, but anyways, one thing worth noting actually was that and I saw Carter Brooks, our friend from Game On Magazine, tweeted it after the game. I guess Nate Schmidt said, "I could hear my mom whistling after that goal." And when I was walking in through security, someone had said that I was talking to our good friends Kathy and Don, who do the security at Gate 4. Shout out to Kathy and Don. And someone had said these are Nate's family. So I didn't know if it was their first game. Turns out Carter is saying it was his parents' first game at to watching him play for the Winnipeg Jets. So that's kind of neat that he scored the game-winning goal.
By the way, Dave, what a day to drive up from Minnesota, huh? Nice, nice, clear, sunny day.
Well, if you remember
when
I talked
a couple days ahead of time.
I remember I was talking to Nate Schmidt in August, and when we did that one-on-one, and he was, I don't remember if I was talking to him before or during the thing, and I said, the drive up from St. Cloud to Winnipeg is, about 6 hours. Well, maybe a little bit faster. I go, not in this weather. In this weather is definitely going to be it's going to be a little slower. So it'd be pretty cool for him to be able to see have his parents be in the crowd and see him score a goal, his first as a member of the Winnipeg Jets. Nikolai Ehlers scores when his family's in the crowd. Maybe there's a common theme right there. But look, give the Jets credit. They've had really good second periods, right? I think they've outscored their opponents 14 or 15-8 in the second period right now throughout the 13 games of the season. So that's a positive, right? Because we knew for a while the second periods were not good for the Winnipeg Jets. They were traditionally getting burnt, in previous seasons in that middle frame. So they definitely had a much better get up and go in that second period. And as he's right, like to see Jansen Harkins get rewarded, beautiful play by Adam Lowry. I thought Adam Lowry had a really impactful game, and you could see he was upset with it. It's always funny, right? Guys, have a media availability, which I believe was yesterday for Adam Lowry, talks about how he's not happy with his game, and then comes out and, hitting everything that moves. Feisty, had a burn in his saddle a little bit, with that fight. Although he didn't necessarily come out on the winning side of that fight.
No,
we'll have to check.
It was a good tilt though.
Yeah, we'll have to. He was up against the Whitby, Ontario boy. I don't know if he's familiar with Cole Perfetti, but
yeah, Jonah Gadjevich.
Yeah, but I don't know. It wasn't definitely a win for number 17 in that regard. But he was impactful, and then he set up Harkins. He set up Harkins beautifully on that play. I mean, that's a tap-in goal. So I mean, you could see that he was feeling better with his game as it progressed and throughout the course of that game.
I thought the Jets' physicality was a factor in the entire game. You saw, the Lowry Gadjevich fight, certainly. You saw Logan Stanley step up and his hit on the Sharks player that knocked the Sharks player
It was Lane
briefly out of the
Peterson, Drew.
game. Yeah, there you go. Thank you, Ezzy. I was trying to get the name Lane Peterson, and he looked like he was in some pain, and he was certainly feeling the effects of that hit in the second period. And Neil Pionk had another solid body check in the third period. I can't recall exactly who was against on the Sharks, but I thought the Jets were physical, timely physicality and effective physicality in the course of tonight's game. And you mentioned Jansen Harkins, Dave, and Adam Lowry. They team up for the Jets' third goal of the game, and that comes late in the second period. And you can almost feel it as a bit of a backbreaker for the San Jose Sharks. With only 44 seconds to go in the second period, it's Harkins, his second from Lowry and Kopp. I mean, Kopp makes a very nice play in the neutral zone, and Lowry comes in with a head of speed. And I mean, when Adam Lowry can get that, player of his stature and a player of his size, when he can get the sort of the freight train rolling downhill, watch out anybody that gets in his way. And he demonstrated a very nice set of hands in setting Jansen Harkins up for the easiest goal Harkins is ever going to score. Usually Harkins goals are, grinding, battling, have to lose 2 teeth to be able to pop it in for, past the goalie in front
Except
of
for his playoff goal, if you remember.
I remember the playoff goal, yes.
That was pretty solid.
That was solid. You're right. That was against the Flames in the bubble after Game 2, after Scheifele went down in Game 1 a couple years ago. But this one was a simple tap in after a great play set up by Kopp, and then Lowry really made the play coming into the zone with a head of steam. And it's 3-1 for the Jets after 40 minutes. And you sort of felt at that point in time, the Jets, I thought, was most impressive in the third period is they really didn't give the Sharks much breathing room at all. I mean, the Sharks really only had sustained pressure in the last minute and a half after they pulled the goalie, and the Jets got caught on that really long shift where Nikolai Ehlers had to be hooked up to an oxygen tank, when he finally got off the ice, mind you, after getting an assist on the empty net goal. But that was really the only sustained pressure. So the Jets, you knew the Sharks were going to try and push back, but I didn't really get the sense from the Jets that they really ever let the Sharks find any sense of life in that third period, which is impressive, especially when you think back to the game, I guess what it would be now, 10 days ago or so against the Dallas Stars, where the Stars were able to find that, get back into the game after trailing by 2 goals late in the third period. The Jets were very good in tonight's contest at shutting down any hope that the Sharks might have had to get back into the game.
Yeah, I agree with you 100% there, Drew. Like, you didn't get the feeling, I mean, maybe late when they had the extra attacker on, right. The Sharks had some pressure. Brent Burns had a great game. Like, he was obviously manning the point, at the end of the game there when they had the 6-on-4. If we can just go back to that Jansen Harkins goal, though, I agree. Sure, I mean, good for Harkins, like, stick on the ice. Lowry just is patient and, finds his stick. And you're right. I mean, that was, even I could have probably scored the goal. No, let's be honest. I wouldn't have scored if I was on the ice there. I would have probably fallen over and injured myself. But
they would have stopped the game and they would have arrested you and said, how did you get on the ice?
Yeah, exactly. What are you doing here? But what stood out to me on that goal was, it was seemingly pretty harmless in that Lowry, starts the play in his own zone. And then you mentioned, Kopp, gets one of the easier assists. But, I made a note here because, Jacob Megna, who, we talked about last time these two teams played, like, he's an AHL guy, all due respect to him. He's in the lineup because guys like Erik Karlsson and Mark-Edward Vlasic are out in COVID protocols, right? But Megna stepped up on Kopp, so Kopp absorbs the hit, right? And then, Lowry just picks up the puck again. And then what I thought was probably, you might not notice this. I went back and I PVR'd it and watched it a couple times, but Jasper Weatherby was who, we talked about. I think he scored once against the Jets this year, if I'm not mistaken, early in the season, former UND player. He's a good player, big boy. He just loses Lowry. Like, Lowry, he just absolutely loses him. And that's why Lowry had the 2-on-1 with Harkins. So, I mean, to me, it's just a veteran. It's just a veteran, like, when you're talking about Weatherby and Megna, like, these are just not regular NHL guys. And that was just the Jets taking advantage of an inexperienced group.
And a guy like Weatherby, who's going to be a good player and was a great player at UND, is just not built physically right now to handle somebody like Adam Lowry. I mean, Adam Lowry will just, he's just bigger and stronger. Given
he just lost him. He just didn't keep pace with him. Like Lowry just, when he passed the puck up to Kopp at center ice, Weatherby's got to, he's just got to be quicker. He's got to follow Lowry. Say whatever you want about Lowry. He's not a slow player. He might look like he's slow, but he ain't slow. We've all watched him since he's
especially when he gets it going. When he can once he gets going behind him.
Yeah, he's a thoroughbred, right? So I just wanted to mention that, guys. I just thought, this Jets team, I mean, they have earned points in almost every single game this year, right? 10 of 13, if I'm not mistaken, or 9 of 13.
10 of 13 now.
Sometimes have trouble with those big numbers, but
the number's 10 you're looking for.
Yeah, I mean, you could easily say, the Jets have let a couple of points that they should have had. They've stayed out there. Maybe not so much against the Islanders on Saturday, but I mean, this is one of those games I just thought that the Jets didn't let, a little push in the second period, early in the second period by the Sharks really affect them. They just stuck to their game. We've used that word opportunistic before, and, they just took advantage. And to me, after they went up 3-1, even though they say the 2-goal lead is the most dangerous one in hockey, I didn't think so. I thought the Jets pretty much, put the nail in the coffin after that third goal.
Well, there was a good comment on the screen a little bit ago. I don't know, Rob Mahoney here. I found it. Talking about the Jets getting up that 2 goals. They weren't passive, and I thought that was important. I thought Rob's comment was very apropos. The Jets were not passive in that third period when they got up those 2 goals. They were aggressive, but it was controlled aggression. That's also how I described the Sharks penalty killing philosophy. The Sharks penalty killing, which is, I think, entered the game, what they say, I think Dennis said on the broadcast, second best in the NHL. And you sort of saw that tonight. I like the Sharks penalty kill a lot in that they were aggressive, but they weren't crazy about it. They weren't running around with like chickens without their heads on. And the Jets, very similarly in the third period, were aggressive in that they continued to want to take the puck and take the play to the San Jose Sharks, but they did so in a smart manner. They did so in a wise manner. They picked their spots very well, but they really didn't leave themselves vulnerable defensively. And Connor Hellebuck had a relatively easy night. I mean, I'm not sure what the exact final. Let me see. I can have it here. The final shots on goal ended up being 28 for the Sharks. A lot of those came in the third period towards the end there. I thought Connor Hellebuck was, very solid in net for the Jets. I don't think he had to be spectacular. I don't remember any saves that would be, highlight reel saves in the course of the game, but that's a testament to the Jets doing a good job in keeping all the shots to the outside or keeping them from being away from being, high danger chances for the most part, Dave.
Yeah, I mean, the idea of big and boring, I thought was back a little bit tonight with Connor Hellebuck, and that's, I mean, look, you're not making excuses for him, but given the fact that he had, he was under the weather, is a new father, hadn't played a game in, 10 or 11 days between his October 30th start and his start 2 games ago against the Blues. You knew there was going to be a little bit of rust, and didn't practice either, wasn't on the ice. So now you've had the opportunity for Connor Hellebuck to practice, to skate back into a rhythm. And I thought, you're right. It wasn't a situation where he was horribly tested, but when he came up, when those chances came for the San Jose, I thought he did what he needed to do, which is always important for your goaltender to be able to stand up and make those stops. And there was, the other thing that what I thought was key was, the Jets defense did box out fairly well today, I thought, and didn't really allow San Jose to really set up in front of Hellebuck and kind of establish position. So I thought that was a real key for me was eliminating that from the game and trying to give him, like we saw with the game against what the Blues did for Binnington. The Blues really allowed Binnington to see all the shots the Jets were shooting at him. So when a goaltender of the NHL caliber, if you're a top goaltender in the NHL and you're seeing a shot from, 20, 30 feet away, it's not beating you. And so whether it's a slap shot or a wrist shot, the truth is that I thought Phyllis was going to tell everybody. Isn't Phyllis supposed to be telling everybody to smash the like button? Isn't that
true? That's Phyllis's job. Yeah.
Yeah. Phyllis, it was a little, we
probably have to start paying Phyllis then if it's her job.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. I guess as soon as you say
Phyllis is she's an unpaid intern.
All interns should be paid.
Well, but I do have some fun trivia, maybe if you guys are ready for it.
Okay, go.
Kyle Connor is the first member of the Jets 2.0 to score 10 goals in his first 13 games. Who is the last player from an NHL team in Winnipeg to score 10 goals in his first 13 games?
I mean, I know the answer because I
knew you could see. I could tell based on your smirk that you knew the answer.
Well, so Sportsnet stats tweeted it out also.
Yeah, I know. That's where I was going to give them credit.
Evgeny Davidov?
Nope. Say right country though.
Alexei Zamnov.
95-96.
Zamnov.
No. Oh, Alex got it in the chat.
Yeah. Alex got it. Shark Mifley got it. The answer is Igor Korolev.
Yes.
And so per our illegal curve constitution, anytime you can bring up an Igor Korolev mention and have it be relevant, it's going to get mentioned on the air.
Let's give Alex Kiss the Toque from Tough Duck right now.
Well, no, then you're going to, I mean, it's a little awkward because Mark Scheifele or Shark Mifley was the guy who actually said it first.
Is it Mark Scheifele or Shark Mifley? I can't tell.
It's Shark Mifley. I mean, if you read the username. So, can you give away 2 Toques? Do you want to give away one?
Why don't you give away 2 Toques? No, give away 2 Toques.
Okay.
You get a Toque. You get a Toque.
Okay, but Shark Mifley's he's got to email me his real name though, because I don't think we can mail it out to Shark Mifley.
Well, that's true. You do. That is the catch when winning any prizes here on the Illegal Curve post game show. You'd have to give
Alex
your real
Kiss
name.
And Shark Mifley, send me an email, Ezra@illegal curve, and we will send you a Toque from Tough Duck.
Yes, Ezra@illegalcurve.com is what he meant, or you can also tweet at him at ICEZG.
It's not .net. Are you sure it's not .net? Drew?
I'm positive it's not .net. It's Ezra@illegalcurve.com.
Let me just log into Alta Vista here, and I'll just check it out here.
For the record,
hold on. Let me put my AOL DVD in.
Oh boy.
That's first of all, Ezzy, that certainly wasn't an AOL DVD. It was an AOL CD-ROM.
CD-ROM.
Yeah, and you're using your 14.4 dial-up, and you thought it was fast.
For the record, Igor Korolev had 12 goals in the remaining 60 games for the Jets that season.
He was a good player. Number 23. Is that the number he was?
That doesn't seem.
Why don't you guys go research that, go into Hockey Reference, find out what number he was. Let's take a break. When we come back, we'll talk more about tonight's Jets-Sharks game. The Jets victorious 4-1 over the San Jose Sharks. If you haven't already done so before, make sure you do it. Otherwise, Phil says
he was right, 23.
23. Okay, there you go. Ezzy gets Ezzy, you can win a Toque too.
Ezzy wins a Toque as well.
A broken clock is right twice an hour.
Twice a day is the saying you're going for there. In any event, smash the like button if you haven't already done so.
Smash it.
That's right. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Subscribe to the podcast if you haven't done that as well. Hang tight. We'll be back with more of the Illegal Curve post-game show. We're live on our YouTube channel and all of our social media platforms.
Jerry Seinfeld, Chris Rock, Jon Stewart, Dennis Miller, Brad Garrett, the biggest acts and all the up-and-comers. They've all made their mark at Rumors Comedy Club, North America's longest-running independent comedy club. Rumors has kept Winnipeg laughing for over 25 years. When was the last time you laughed out loud? Make it a great night out with friends or book your office or birthday party, even a fundraising event at Rumors. Get all the details and dates on upcoming shows at rumorscomedyclub.com.
Whoa, Ezzy, why are you so happy?
I just crushed 2 fresh Bagel Smith bagels with schmear. They're open on Jets home game nights until puck drop.
Didn't you have Bagel Smith for lunch too?
Yes, I did. What's your point?
Come on, Bagel Boy, let's go to the game.
Bagel Smith is Winnipeg's first and only Montreal-style bagel shop located at 185 Carlton Street. Visit bagelsmith.ca.
He winds up. Oh, looks like Ezzy took that one right in the choppers.
A blistering fast puck hurts like HE double hockey sticks. That's why I let the pros at Linden Market Dental Center turn my yow into
wow.
Get your brilliant smile back with state-of-the-art restorative and cosmetic dentistry from real pros.
And remember, always wear a mouth guard.
Now that's solid on ice advice. Learn more at lindenmarketdentalcenter.com. Creating smiles for life.
Whoa, Ezzy, everything okay? You look stressed.
Of course I'm stressed. We're moving, the house is upside down, the kids failed miserably at packing the fine china, and my life is in chaos. Chaos!
Yes, that does sound like a problem.
What am I going to do?
Ezzy, relax. Rolly's Transfer Moving and Storage is the answer. With 60 years of experience in moving Manitobans and a track record of exemplary customer service, one call to Rolly's and your stress is gone. No job is too big or too small. Just visit Rollies.com and they will take it from there.
Thanks, Dave, and thank you, Rolly's Transfer Moving and Storage, online at Rollies.com.
Boston Pizza, the perfect place for a drink. Or the new pickle pizza, across from this guy, who's getting his fill of some classic cactus-cut nachos. Next to some hockey fans that just saw a nasty OT winner. Boston Pizza. Enjoy some... What? Look at that guy. Just having a soak, eh? You do you. Enjoy some old fall favorites and some new ones, however you like, at Boston Pizza.
For 3 generations and over 80 years, Tough Duck has been making apparel that works and plays as hard as the people who wear it. From jackets to work boots and everything in between, Tough Duck's clothing can handle the harshest environments, even the illegal curve hockey show. Work to live, live to play. Visit toughduck.com. 20 minutes after the hour, welcome back to the Illegal Curve post-game show. Drew Mandel, Dave Manook, Ezra Ginsburg with you. I see a lot of chatter in the comment section about the new Rollies transfer commercial. Big thank you to Rollies for coming on board as one of the newest sponsors of the Illegal Curve hockey show. If you enjoyed tonight's Rollies commercial, all I can tell you is stay tuned to Saturday morning's Rollies commercial, because I really do think it might be one of the best commercials we've ever done. So that'll be 9 a.m. on Saturday with the Illegal Curve hockey show. You stay tuned, of course, and that's I really do think that's one of the funnier commercials we've done in a long time. But also want to pay tribute to all of our sponsors: Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club, Linden Market Dental Center, Zappia Group Realty, Bernstein's Deli, Tough Duck. They're giving away the toque, so big thanks to them. Bagel Smith will give away some bagels on the second half of tonight's post-game show. Boston Pizza, Seagram's, and as I mentioned, Rollies Transfer. Support these fine businesses because they support Illegal Curve Hockey. If you're looking for some information about becoming a sponsor of the Illegal Curve Hockey show, send an email to any one of the three of us: Drew at illegalcurve.com, Dave at illegalcurve.com, Ezra at illegalcurve.com, or you can always slide into any of our DMs and we'll get you back some information about becoming a sponsor of this fine program.
Do people still slide into DMs?
Yeah, I mean, it's a thing. Yeah, absolutely. People can slide into DMs and say, I'd like some information about becoming a sponsor of the Illegal Curve Hockey show. And that's nothing wrong with that at all. Just make sure it's on the up and up is all.
For the record, I was about to yell at one of you for having some outside audio on, then I realized it was me.
What were you listening to?
The Illegal Curve Hockey show.
You were listening to the show while we're doing the show?
Yeah, not intentionally. Somehow it came up on my phone.
Do you guys remember when Weber accidentally had himself on Winnipeg Sports Talk on during a press conference, and Gregor, or was it Gregor or was it Scott Unger? I can't remember. Do you guys remember what I'm talking about here?
I think I remember.
Sounds vaguely familiar. Yeah.
And someone said, Huss, you have to turn down your Huss, you have to turn down your, or put on your mute button or something. But it was actually just Kenny on his computer. Somehow it was playing Huss interviewing Kenny. So I just thought I'd mention that. That was pretty funny.
There you go.
What a time to be alive, Drew.
what exactly? What a time to be alive indeed there, Mr. Ginsburg. Let's talk about some of the revamped forward lines for the Winnipeg Jets, because Paul Maurice did go briefly to the blender, or not briefly. He went to the blender in that second period, and you saw
Lowry had a 5 minute
right. Lowry had the 5 minute fight, so that sort of affected things. Let's start, I guess, with the fourth line's performance tonight. The line of Vesalainen, Riley Nash, and Dominic Toninato. I thought that was their best game as a trio, certainly. And if that's what the Jets can expect to get out of them as a fourth line, night in and night out, nobody's going to say a word of complaint. I mean, that's 2 games now. They were pretty good as well against St. Louis. They had a couple shifts where the ice was tilted in their favor. If that's the fourth line for the Jets, then you're going to see that fourth line get increasing responsibility and increasing minutes.
Yeah, and you mentioned the ice time. Like, just look at, like we talked about last game, right? Vesalainen coming in after playing the 3 games with the Moose. He doubled his ice time tonight. And yeah, part of that has to do with the fact that the Jets were leading, right? So usually, your fourth line is going to play a little bit more, when you're protecting a lead as opposed to maybe chasing the game and down. So, I think you'd like to see that fourth line somewhere between, 8 minutes and 10 minutes, depending on, special teams and everything like that. Riley Nash continues to be out there on the power play. When Paul Stastny comes back, that might change. And then Nash might not be out there on one of the power play units. But yeah, I agree with that, Drew. Like, the fourth line, we know it's not like last year, right, guys? Like last year, it was Thompson, Lewis, and Perreault. It seemed like, almost every game of the season. And then it started to change a little bit, towards the end of the year. But Harkins, if you remember, he couldn't get into the lineup, right?
Yeah.
So I agree with Dave. Like, I think Harkins looks really comfortable on that third line with Lowry and Kopp, even though you guys know, I mean, the line I really want to see is Kopp, Scheifele, and Ehlers. I think a lot of people in the chat have been talking about that as well. So I think that's something to look forward to as well. I think that could happen depending on, what happens here with Stastny coming back. But, I think when you put Kopp and Lowry together, we know, they've had success over the years, and then Harkins can fit in seamlessly. Please see case in point his goal in the second period. But yeah, you have to have a fourth line contributing, especially, when some of the guys in your top six are, struggling offensively. So, I mean, Toninato was one of those guys that, kind of quietly has been kind of a stabilizing force on that fourth line, right? Because if you think about it, like Nash has been out of the lineup with the 11-7, and then you've seen Vesalainen get reassigned to the Moose because of, various, injuries, basically because of Mikhail Burden having to be called up, with Hellebuck, having the birth of his child. So yeah, I thought that fourth line, if they play like that on a consistent basis, I think you're going to start to get some offensive results.
Well, it's funny, as you mentioned the line of you want to see Scheifele, Ehlers, and Kopp. Scheifele. Yeah,
that's right. Scheifele, Ehlers, and Kopp. Yeah.
And I agree with you, because that's sort of what everyone, when Stastny was in the lineup, everyone was sort of expecting at some point there'd be a quick flip there, where Stastny, Ehlers, and Kopp would be a line, and then Stastny, Wheeler, and Lowry would be a line. When Scheifele, Wheeler, and Ehlers played together, the old Schwieler's line that we saw a little bit a couple years ago played in tonight's contest, I didn't really see much there that was worth writing home about. So I don't know that that's necessary. Like, I liked it better when it was Kopp and Ehlers. I liked when they were playing together better, more than when Scheifele, Wheeler, and Ehlers were playing together. Now, should Scheifele, Wheeler, and Ehlers play to be a successful line? Well, yeah, on paper it should be, but I'm not, if Stastny's back in the lineup for Saturday, and I would say it's, if I was a betting man, I'd say it's probably 60-40 that he'll be back in the lineup on Saturday, because it sounded like he was close to going for tonight's game. I wouldn't mind seeing Stastny or Scheifele, Kopp, and Ehlers together, because and see what Wheeler and Stastny and Lowry have together. That would be my thought. I wouldn't necessarily immediately go back with the Schwieler's line after what we saw tonight, Dave.
Yeah, I mean, it's the first time we've seen them in a while, right? So I mean, it's not and you didn't have a full game of it, obviously, but I think the key point, Drew, isn't so much to fixate on any of the lines in particular, just that you have the ability now to roll a lot of lines and different variations of those lines. And I think that's the key. I think knowing that you can, like I said, I'm of the opinion not to break up Connor, Dubois, and Svechnikov, because I just like what they've got and their chemistry seems to be perfect. And so to me, leave those guys alone. But I really do think you can mix and match the remaining three lines. And like we were talking about, one of the keys is getting balance. Obviously, you need to get Mark Scheifele going. Obviously, you need to get Blake Wheeler going. There's no doubt about that, fact. I mean, it's like I said, it's going to be great to have for the Jets to be able to have Dubois and Connor going, but they may hit a point where they're not, right? I mean, so far they haven't shown that, but it's possible. So
at some point in time, they're not going to be as impactful game in and game out as they've been.
And especially, Dave, just wanted to quickly say, especially when you have the back-to-back coming up against the Oilers, right? Who are just absolutely red hot. So I agree with you. Scheifele is a guy that he will score. It might be as early as Saturday night versus LA, but you're right. I mean, he's not going to be on the third line for much longer.
No, and that's the whole point. So you're going to, look, we don't know how much it affected him being out of the lineup, and like I said, and all teams are dealing with it. It's not as if look at the Ottawa Senators tonight. They had 9 guys end up on the COVID list, I think.
It's unbelievable, isn't it, that we're almost 2 years into this thing? Like this virus it doesn't go away.
Yeah.
The Kings beat the Senators 2-0. And I mean, it's the Senators were playing with one hand tied behind their back.
I'm surprised, Drew, it wasn't postponed, to be honest with you.
I think the NHL probably, they probably should have, just by competitive fairness reasons, but I think they're doing everything in their power to not have to fiddle around with the schedule, for better or worse regarding that logic, I would say.
Especially with the Olympics in February, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So anyways, I just think like it's one of those things that you're going to have a guy like Mark Scheifele get back into his normal flow eventually. And, they're getting chances. I mean, he had lots of chances in the last, game and he just couldn't bury them. And so I think that maybe you spark him by changing some things up. I just don't think that you go back to the Kyle Connor be the driver on that line again and do that, because I just don't think it's going to happen, because it's just, coaches tend to be, superstitious and, if it's working for you, why would you take a chance? I mean, look, if something happens where, like I talked about, it slows down, you always are going to know that these guys have that muscle memory to return and play together if you need to. But for right now, you don't need to get these guys going. These guys are driving your team. So you want to get Mark Scheifele going? Okay. So you put him with, I'm with Ezzy. I like the idea of Kopp and Ehlers and Scheifele together. I think that could, work well. And then, whether you have Lowry, I think actually Lowry in the middle with Stastny and Wheeler is a good third line. Yep. I actually really like that third line. And then if the fourth line is playing the way they are, there you've got a solid fourth line. So, and to be honest with you have a difficult decision to make, because, who are you pulling out if Harkins drops back to the fourth line, presumably, and you've got Tom Nato
that deserves to come out of your lineup the way they played tonight.
Right. So that's, I mean, and that's not a huge issue, just because it's not as impactful as the other 3 lines, obviously. And we'll see. I mean, Paul
13 forwards, 5D. That's what they're going to go with. 13 forwards and 5D.
Hey, the defensemen would love it. They play all those minutes. You probably wouldn't hear them complain very much.
Until they're gassed on the bench. But
hey, the Moose played with 5 defensemen to start a game, one of whom was a forward playing in his 3rd AHL game. So if the Moose can do it, the Jets can do it.
Well, Dave mentioned the Manitoba Moose, so you know what that means. It's time for the Manuk Moose Minute. Take it away, Dave Manuk.
Well, it's funny you should mention the idea of a minute, Drew, because you brought this up yesterday. The Moose outshot the Admirals last night in Milwaukee 60-16 in an impressive game. Leon Gawanke, the 2017 5th rounder for Manitoba, or for the Jets, sorry, defenseman for the Moose, had 11 shots in the game, which set a Manitoba Moose record, according to Daniel Fink, who's the play-by-play announcer for the Moose. And so, I mean, that's just unbelievable in the game. And they were dominating. I mean, it was just it was ridiculous. And full marks to who was in net for Milwaukee. What was his name? I lost it. But anyways, it doesn't matter. But the point is, I mean, he made a lot of saves. He faced 60 shots on net, and good for Manitoba. I mean, they're in the middle of a long 6-game road trip. Ville Heinola played a really good game. Like I said, Gawanke had 2 goals and an assist. So that's a really impressive night for him. 11 shots. I mean, how often do you ever hear of a defenseman having 11 shots? Not Mikkel Burton's best night. I mean, it's got to be killing him because he's not getting a lot of action. 3 goals on 16 shots. So that's why I said to folks when they were calling for Mikkel Burton, just slow. Just remember, it was Ingram. That's right.
Connor Ingram.
Yeah, Connor Ingram. That's right.
Yeah.
So thank you, misspell. So
Tampa draft pick who is with Nashville now.
That's right. So there you go. And you know what? Again, these guys, David Gustafson scored. It wasn't the prettiest goal, went off his foot. Jeff Malott, he's kind of I think he's got goals in back-to-back games, or 2 out of his last 3. So he's getting going again. I think one of the things these guys are recognizing is it's just a different. I mean, I talked to them about it. They know it, but it's just a different league this year than what it was last year, right? Because last year, a lot of the good players who would have been in the AHL were on the taxi squads. And so, those 3, 4, 5 guys weren't on AHL squad. So it was a different composition last year than what we were used to this year and what we were used to traditionally. And now teams are adjusting. They're getting back into what it was, a couple of years ago. But for guys like Jeff Malott or Cole Perfetti, who didn't play in the AHL prior to last year, they're adjusting to it. And Cole Perfetti, lots of hitting the posts. Now, is Kenny saying that because he wants me to be done in a minute and I tend to go a little long with these Moose minutes?
I think that's it's a little tongue in cheek.
All right.
All right.
Well, I will wrap up the Moose minute. The Moose they traveled to Grand Rapids today and they're going to take on the Griffins for 2 games before they return home. And I will have some Moose tickets. They play on the 18th against Milwaukee, for the record. I think they play the next 3 when they get home against the Admirals. So 5 of 9 games, I think, are against Milwaukee. But I'll have some tickets, I think, against Iowa at the end of the month. So closer to next week, end of next week, I'll have some primo 4 pairs of tickets every game. Although I think I'm going to start breaking them up and go 2 and 2. And you guys can all make friends in the chat and go to the games together. So we're going to start giving away tickets again to the Moose very, very soon. Oh, uno momento, por favor, because I have some questions.
Yes.
From Donnie Boy about Dylan Sandberg. I saw him tonight in the press box, so he isn't going to doesn't appear to be going to Grand Rapids anytime soon. My guess is they'll keep him in Winnipeg for give him some chance to heal up, continue to practice with the Jets, and then when the Moose are back, he'll play for the next homestand on the 18th when so I guess a week tonight.
Well, there
you
go.
Get any closer, Drew? Like you could not get any closer to the Moose than Dave Am. Like he was literally feet away from Dylan Sandberg. So if you want any information about the Manitoba Moose, you ask the Moose insider, Dylan Sandberg. He'll be back in the lineup soon.
Well, there you go. So there was tonight's Manuk Moose Minute. Stay tuned for Saturday morning on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show, when I'm sure we'll have another Moose update. And then Saturday night on the Illegal Curve post-game show following the Jets and the Los Angeles Kings.
We might even have a Moose guest, Drew.
Maybe we'll have a Moose guest, Dave. Why don't you see if you can work some of that magic and see something along those lines? We'll see about that for Saturday's Illegal Curve Hockey Show, 9 a.m. back here on our YouTube channel, and then the post-game show Saturday night, right around 8:45 p.m. after the Jets face the Los Angeles Kings yet again this season. It seems like they've only played the same. It seems like last year where they only played the same 6 teams. This year, it seems like they're starting that way as well, only playing the same few California teams over and over and over again. But that comes to an end quickly with Saturday night's game against the Los Angeles Kings. Quickly before we wrap up on the post-game show tonight, I want to make mention of something. We'll probably dive a little deeper into this on the Saturday morning show. It's really interesting if you look at the Central Division standings right now, because there's 2 teams. There's a hierarchy that's taking place right now. The St. Louis Blues and the Minnesota Wild lead the division with 18 points. Then there's the Jets and the Predators, who each have 17 points. And then behind Nashville in 5th spot is Dallas with 10 points. So there's a real big gap right now that is between the top 4.
Forgot about Colorado there, Drew.
Well, Colorado's only got 9 points, Essie. Colorado's behind Dallas. I was about to say, I guess I can say
I was setting you up there for that one.
Okay, they're shit kicking
Vancouver
one
tonight. Though.
Yeah, they're
they'll have 11 points, but yeah,
7-1 they beat Vancouver tonight. So a real embarrassing loss for a struggling.
Well, that's what
Canucks
they say,
team.
Drew. The recipe for a bad start to the season is just play the Canucks, right?
Well, there seems to be something to that effect. But it's interesting if you look at the Central Division, and it's something we'll keep an eye on. The real differential between the top 4 teams right now and then those bottom 4 teams. And we do expect, of course, Colorado to climb the ranks, and Dallas, is struggling again. So who knows what Dallas is going to have?
I will guarantee you, and obviously, never take any guarantee from.
It's a Ginsburg guarantee.
The Avalanche are going to make the playoffs. Like, come on, Nathan McKinnon's out of the lineup for 3 weeks, so they're going to miss him. But there's way too much talent on that team. Like, how many guys, from the Avalanche are going to be in the Olympics? Like, a lot is the answer. So, I mean, let's not get too excited that the Avalanche only have 9, soon to be 11 points here. They've been having some injuries and different personnel issues and everything like that. So I mean, I at least they're going to be in the playoffs.
And as Tracy just put into the chat, and I saw some other people put it into the chat earlier as well, apparently Tucker Poolman got a match penalty in tonight's game, and really she should have a match penalty for that contract, but that's not his fault. That was the fault of the Canucks general manager for handing that out to him. So anyways, a good night for the Winnipeg Jets. Ezzy, before we wrap up, you've given away toques. Do you have a bagel winner for tonight's contest?
Yeah, here, let's scroll through here.
He doesn't is the answer to the question, is clearly what happened there, but he's going to quickly find out an answer. Well, I will say that I was at Bagelsmith yesterday while you're finding the answer, Ezzy.
Not a boy.
I was at Bagelsmith yesterday picking up some bagels for the day off today and for the weekend, because my children, anytime there's a long weekend or a random Thursday off, as the case may be with today, they demand bagels. So you don't want to disappoint a 6 and a 4-year-old, because they let you know about it. Ezzy, this is a good reminder. You need to get milk. People keep reminding Ezzy he needs to get the milk. If he goes home without the milk, he's going to be in trouble.
I also need to get bagels. Good reminder. I should stop by 185 Carlton tomorrow and pick up some plain. I can't get the sesame or the poppy seed anymore, even though they're delicious, because Naomi says they leave too much of a mess. So I'm on the plain bagel bandwagon now.
She probably should have thought about that before she married you, if she was worried about things that make too much of a mess.
As an aside here, about Bagelsmith here, if you have a chance on Wednesdays, they do pizza bagels. They have sandwiches there. They have some delicious sandwiches, but their pizza bagels on Wednesday are unbelievable if you like the pizza bagels. But we're going to give the half dozen Bagelsmith bagels to Donnie Boy. He's had some good comments, and we've seen him in some of these post-game shows in the past. So Donnie Boy, send me an email, ezra@illegalcurve.com, and I will forward your name to Bagelsmith, and you can go pick up half a dozen bagels anytime you want.
There you go. Congratulations to Donnie Boy. Congratulations to Shark Mithley, earlier winning the Tough Duck Toque, and I forget who the other winner. Alex Kiss. Congratulations to all of our winners taking home some great toques and bagels on tonight's Illegal Curve post-game show. Final thought from you, Mr. Manuk, as we wrap it up, and we send everyone over to Kenny and Rennie, who I believe are going to get underway here in a couple minutes. You're on mute.
I said, will it be Kenny and Rennie is the real question. I mean, last time it was Kenny with Mitch Peacock and Scott Billick. So who knows who it's going to be tonight? Maybe it'll be
Rennie MIA.
I didn't see Sean in the press box, for the record. So
I don't want to cause any. I hear there's some contract negotiations. They're not going well between Kenny and Rennie. I don't want to pour fuel on the fire or anything. I don't want to be an antagonizer, but I hear maybe that Rennie's looking for a big 8-year deal, and Kenny's not willing to go past the bridge contract. So it'll be interesting to see how that works itself out over the coming post game shows.
All I've got to say is make sure you smash that like button, because that always helps us with our algorithm. So we appreciate that when you can do that. And if you enjoy the show, and even if you don't, if you enjoy us, then make sure you smash that like button, please.
There you go. We don't even know what an algorithm is. That's the irony of this of us saying.
Nobody knows what an algorithm is.
We asked Ezzy's dad, who's a retired math professor. He explained it to us. He actually broke it down.
He's actually back tutoring.
Very good. So, by the way, if anybody needs math tutoring, John Ginsburg is your man.
I think it's a one-off. It's not like he's not back in the mathematics.
Is he tutoring you?
Yeah, I was going to say, is he tutoring you? Because you had trouble with 9 plus 1 earlier on tonight.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I'm now taking grade 7 math again, so my dad's helping me out with that. So yeah,
Billy Madison over here.
Yeah, exactly right. Except, sorry, now I got the image of John stripping like the scene in Billy Madison. I forget who the girlfriend is in Billy Madison, but anyways, we don't need
Veronica Vaughn.
I think it's time to wrap this one up, boys.
That's Veronica Vaughn.
There you go. Thank you, Dave. I knew you would remember.
He is one piece of ace. A guy I know, him and her.
Are you done?
Not really. I could quote that movie like all day and all night.
On that note, we thank everybody for joining us on tonight's Illegal Curve post-game show. Good luck. And you're heading out shoveling. It is the quote-unquote heart attack snow because it's so wet and so heavy. So take your time. We don't want anybody getting injured. So take your time with shoveling the snow. Do the best. Watch your backs. Make sure you don't put yourself in traction, Mr. Ginsburg. We don't need you. In severe back pain again.
I am a great shoveler. Nobody shovels like me. I'm efficient. I get right down to that pavement. I'm really good. I know how to bend properly.
Good. Before you leave, I'm going to be giving you a shovel.
There you go. That's what you have to pay for doing the post-game show at Dave's house. In any event, thank you to everybody for joining us. Reminder, we'll be back 9 a.m. Saturday morning with the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. Then later Saturday night, it'll be the Illegal Curve post-game show right back here on our YouTube channel. If you haven't already done so, smash that like button, subscribe to our YouTube channel, subscribe to our podcast. That way you get alerted each and every time we go live. For Dave Manouk in the top right, for Ezra Ginsburg, who needs to go and get some milk. Get the milk, Ezzy. Dear God, get the milk. I am your host, Drew Mindell. We thank everybody for joining us. Until Saturday morning at 9 a.m., we wish you good night and good luck.